Roll call. Council President Goslin.
Here.
Council Vice President Williamson.
Here.
Councilman Messier.
Here.
Councilman Licciardi.
You will be late.
Councilman Bourget.
Here.
Participating communities, Town of Coventry, Town of Situate, City of Cranston, City of Warwick, Town of West Greenwich. Quorum on record, Council President. First item on the agenda is approval of resolution SC 2023-06, the minutes of the February 28th, 2023 Sewer Commission meeting.
Move approval of the minutes.
Second. Moving second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
Good evening, council.
Hey, Jeff.
Jeff.
Okay, wastewater operations for February 2023. Our average daily flow was 6.3 million gallons per day. Our maximum flow was 10.5 million gallons per day. And our minimum flow was 3.5 million gallons per day. As of February 23rd, our CBOD removal was 99%, which equated to 2.0 milligrams per liter. And total suspended solids as of February 23rd was 98% removal, which equated to 2.5 milligrams per liter. As of February 19th, our phosphorus was 0.82 milligrams per liter. So all below the limits for the month. For sludge removal, Synagro, we sent 176 tons. The landfill received 320 tons for a total going out of 496 tons. We're going to start going back to Synagro now that they fixed their issue. As of this week, another issue arose, so we're going back to the landfill at least for this week and maybe longer. We'll get an update later on this week, so we'll see where that goes. As far as our sewer backups, our public line, we had 3 backups, one on Morningside Drive, one on Sycamore Drive, and one on Church Street. On the private lines, there were 5 blockups, one on Sycamore Drive, one on Meadow Drive, 2 on Coy Ave, and 1 on Providence Street. And for the month, there were no odor complaints and no facility violations. And that is my report.
Any questions for Jeff? I do have one, Jeff. Synagro's name is all over the Woonsocket plant.
Yes.
What effect will that have on us?
So the way that it works is that Synagro has return lines that go to Woonsocket, which can overload Woonsocket. So they have to work together to make sure that both facilities are running at their best capacity to make sure that Synagro can function properly. That doesn't happen. We get denied. They say they can't take our sludge. Our backup's the landfill, so we have to go there. It's kind of our lifeline. I don't want to say our lifeline, but our only real competitor in town is Synagro. If not, we have to pay the higher charge at the landfill.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Jeff? Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the industrial pretreatment report.
Good evening. Shocked. Good evening. The industrial pretreatment for the month of February. During February, the significant industrial users, Famera and Amtrol, did submit their self-monitoring report and all were in compliance. As you may recall in the January meeting, Amtrol had to retest because of a violation, and they are now all within permit. A new permit was issued for 50 Washington Street as they changed ownership, and a new lab will be using the site that was Famera's facility. With regards to the food service, Rufino's Pizzeria on Main Street completed the interior construction, and a permit was issued for this facility. With regards to the private lines, the program has been working with the managers of 1600 Division Street. That's the Westerman or Wasserman's private wastewater collection system. We've been working with them. The superintendent and the pretreatment coordinator met with the manager to go over the roof, to make sure the roof drains were no longer connected to the sewers, and the drains inside the building were no longer connected to the sewers. And we found that the property was in order, and we're moving forward with permitting all of those facilities internal to that. Walmart's in center of New England did submit their monthly report, and all of their operational conditions were in permit. Neon Market continues the construction. Plans were reviewed for 40 Keys Way. If you recall, last month, the permit had to make modifications in their permit. This month, physically, they received their permit to tie into the sewers. The proposed commercial development in the center of New England, which is located in West Greenwich, submitted their plans, and they were generally in compliance with the regulation, and a permit was issued. 577 Tyoke Avenue in Coventry, resubmitted plans. The plans did not meet the requirements, and they've asked for a waiver on some of the conditions. The superintendent is considering those waivers. With regards to Soap Car Wash, Soap Car Wash, if you're not familiar with it, is being proposed behind the Neon Marketplace. It's identified as 1119 Division Street. In this particular instance, the car wash has not completed the industrial application. However, they needed approval from us to go to the planning board in Warwick. So we gave them permission with the understanding that they can tie in to our sewers as long as the pretreatment requirements were met. With regards to the Summit Medical Center, Hazel Eye Center, and the Kent County Water, they all resubmitted plans, and a permit was issued to all of those facilities. That's all I have.
Any questions for Jim?
Comment with all the car washes coming in, not gonna be a dirty car around.
This is the third car wash that we've ridden.
One more on the agenda tonight.
I haven't seen it yet. So. There's, the planning board's got another one too.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Jim.
Next item on the agenda is the financial report. Good evening again, everyone. Year-to-date operating and debt expenses for fiscal year 2023 through the end of February total $6,313,770, which is 67% of the annual budget. Overtime for the month of February was $15,690, which is 11% of the annual budget. Our fiscal year-to-date overtime is $107,410, which is 75% of the annual budget. Our year-to-date savings and sewer department salaries line item is $35,454, which is helping to offset some of our overtime expenses. When we compare the same time this year versus the end of February last fiscal year, we've spent $16,819 less on overtime than we did last year. Year-to-date sludge removal costs through the end of February totaled $551,555, which is 83% of the annual cost, annual budget. Year-to-date increased expense of $99,728 for having to offload at resource recovery this year versus what we would have spent if we were able to offload at Center Grove for the entire year. Our fiscal year 2023 sewer usage and industrial collections through the end of February totaled $6,092,664, which is 82% of the total billed. Fiscal year 2023 sewer assessment collections through the end of February totaled $249,217, which is 100% of the total billed. Intermunicipal bond invoices were mailed to participating communities that contribute to our bond payments. For our March bond payment, all communities have remitted their payments, and cash and investments through the end of February totaled $3,290,60. That's my financial report, Council President.
Any questions for Tony?
Yeah, I have a question, I guess, maybe for both of you, but if we're in like a long-term situation where we continually not be able to bring the sludge removal to Center Grove, like, is it something where it's gonna affect like the rates that we should be setting for next year, looking forward?
As far as next year, Councilman Messier, we don't anticipate asking for a rate increase. The increased offloads at resource recovery will be reflected in the sludge removal line item that we present to you at the public hearing for consideration. We are factoring that in. We are keeping that in mind.
But Jay, you're right. I mean, long-term, if Cinegro, which is the only game in town, is not available,
Yeah.
the cost will be much higher if we have to go to landfill. And my concern is in, as you said, with the Woonsocket issue. If they get tangled up in that and somehow they get closed down for a long period of time, we're gonna have an issue.
Because right now you said we're 100,000 over for the,
Yeah.
for the year, right?
We spent 83% of our budget so far, but we spent $100,000 more
Yeah.
than what we would have if we could have offloaded that Cinegro
Yeah,
for the
so I'm just
entire
saying,
year.
if it was-
So we would be well within our budget
No,
if
no,
we
I-
could have gone to Cinegro.
If for some reason we were in a long-term situation, and you said Cinegro, there's nothing anywhere near here that's similar to Cinegro, right? I mean, I know that we bring it to the landfill, like what's the closest
Correct.
place that's comparable?
I want to say the next closest is New Haven, Connecticut, and then Rochester, New York.
Like long-term, is that a solution?
No, because I looked into it when they were down for a while and just the hauling costs are pretty much where it
Okay.
gets expensive just because of travel
okay.
time. You know, if it's 2 hours each way, that's 4 hours for the drivers,
Gotcha.
you know, so.
I mean, it's not just West Warwick that's having the issue.
No,
Um,
but I don't care about West
No.
Warwick. Right now.
But the point is, at some point, something has to give, and whether regulators step in, something has to give and provide some relief somewhere along the way, because it's just not, we can't sustain that, bringing that much to the landfill.
Obviously, I mean, we also have our rivers here, but I understand Woonsocket's concerned with the Blackstone River.
Yes.
Totally, considering the amount of work they've done to try to clean it up there. And, you know, and when I was reading the story and then I was watching the story and I'm just like, wow, we use Cinegro and this could really affect us.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's why I kind of brought it up tonight.
One more question for Tony. Can you explain what the intermunicipal bond, please?
Sure, the bond payments that we have at the plant for the advanced, I call it the AWT bond. It's advanced wastewater treatment,
Yes.
phosphorus removal, those upgrades that DEM required over the years that we had to take bonds for. Cranston, Coventry, Situate, West Greenwich, and Warwick back in the day, because they flow into us, they pay a portion of those bond payments every year. Warwick paid theirs upfront to us way back in the day. These other communities pay us twice a year as the bond payments come due. So that's what the intermunicipal bond payments are.
All right, is it equal amount for each community? Or is it based on the amount of sewer lines that they run through?
I believe it's based on the capacity, Jim. That's,
It's based on capacity. When the bond was taken out by the town of West Warwick, the state revolving loan program or the infrastructure bank set up a schedule. So each one has their own schedule of payments, and it's based upon flow.
Okay.
And the reason for that is most of these communities did not have the bond authorization to go out and bond their particular portion of the project. West Warwick had to do it because it's in West Warwick, the permit is issued. So they bonded everything and they get reimbursed. But there is a set schedule. Every one of them is different because of where they're impacted. And you'll see some that, like, there's one bond payment in West Warwick, you had 0 interest because of what was done earlier on. You were able to get 0 interest on that particular loan, where other communities had to pay an interest charge.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tony? Thank you, Tony.
next item on the agenda is public comment.
Any public comment on sewer? None?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 1 minute recess.